Now available in paperback and Kindle, vampires stalk the darkness of the Eternal Night. Get your copy of Eternal Night in paperback and Kindle on Amazon.com. Better get the coleslaw, y'all, cause we're having us a barbecue. Buffy the Vampire Slayer fans should rejoice. Now, on Saturday morning, Sarah Michelle Gellar came to Instagram to let everyone know that Hulu is no longer moving forward with the project Buffy New Sunnydale.
So I am really sad to have to share this, but I wanted you all to hear it from me. Unfortunately, Hulu has decided not to move forward with Buffy New Sunnydale. I want to thank Chloe Zhao because I never thought I would find myself back in Buffy's stylish yet affordable boots. And thanks to Chloe, I was reminded how much I love her and how much she means not only to me, but to all of you. And this doesn't change any of that. And I promise, if the apocalypse actually comes, you can still beat me.
Now, Buffy New Sunnydale was in production for development ever since about February 2025 and was getting ready to come from 20th Television and Searchlight TV. However, those plans to make a Buffy the Vampire Slayer reboot basically have been stopped, and I can honestly say I'm really happy to hear this news because it's the best thing that could happen to the Buffy character and most of us Buffy fans out here. Now, over the last couple of years, many of us in fandom have been deeply disappointed by many of the reboots and relaunches of beloved franchises that many of us grew up with, and Buffy fans are not going to have to suffer that trauma that Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who, and Terminator fans have wound up suffering as they watch their favorite franchises basically go and turn into complete disasters. And that's what I'm happy about hearing that there won't be a Buffy the Vampire Slayer reboot, because I don't want to see the character of Buffy Summers and the town of Sunnydale basically run through the mud by most of these extremely inexperienced writers and these really incompetent directors. And when I heard who was going to be in charge of this program, Buffy New Sunnydale, I'm thanking God that this program, Hulu, isn't picking it up, because it would be on its way to being an unmitigated disaster. Now, the person who they were looking to make in charge of the new Buffy reboot was Chloe Zhao. Now, Chloe Zhao won an Oscar for Best Director for some sort of art house movie she did a while back, but Chloe Zhao was the one who directed the disastrous Phase 4 movie, The Eternals, and she basically was out of her league as related to directing that superhero movie because she came from the world of art house film, and she would be definitely out of her depth as related to working on a program like Buffy. So basically, as related to the Buffy character, Buffy Summers, and the Buffyverse, they dodged a bullet as related to this not going into production, because basically what would happen with Buffy is we wouldn't get a Scooby Gang. No, what we would get is something akin to what we got with Supergirl after season 2 on the CW, where that superhero show basically stopped focusing on its fantasy and science fiction elements and started to become a platform for pushing feminist propaganda. And I would hate to see Buffy go and be turned into a platform for feminist propaganda and identity politics, because Buffy was one of the greatest heroines of the 1990s and was a great icon of what presented to us as a balanced picture of strong women. I mean, when I look at the 1990s, we got some great heroines in Xena and Buffy, and they were really well written and well balanced as being completely multidimensional characters. And I would rather see them not produce a bad show rather than go out here and produce it, because again, when I look at Chloe Zhao's background, she's just not the person to be able to do this. Now, if this was Sally Richardson Whitfield, who does have science fiction and fantasy experience as related to her directorial background, I would say, yeah, you could go and do the Buffy reboot, because this woman has the experience and is a scream queen and is known for playing roles like Elisa in Gargoyles. I would say, yeah, if you wanted to do that with Sally Richardson Whitfield, it would be perfectly fine. But when it comes down to Chloe Zhao, I know that she would basically make a complete mess of Buffy on a level of Star Wars as related to the disastrous mess we got with Kathleen Kennedy as related to Rey, where we saw her take a boys franchise and turn it into a girl franchise. And basically, when it came down to, again, Kathleen Kennedy, she pushed a feminist agenda, and that again would be something that would be a disaster for Buffy, because Buffy basically is a fantasy show that focuses on vampires and gothic themes, and also focuses on a lot of romance in between the action. I mean, one of the things that basically drove women to Buffy was not only seeing Buffy Summers kick butt, but her having relationships with Angel and relationships with Spike in the later seasons. And that's where that was a big draw for the show. And that's what people really wanted to come to see as related to the relationships. That was that, and the friendships that Buffy had with Willow. I mean, the thing that was a major driver for one of the later seasons was seeing Buffy at odds with Willow in that classic feud where Willow became Dark Willow. And those are things, and again, there was also Tara, the Buffy sister, played by the late Michelle Trachtenberg. I mean, there was so much good stuff in Buffy, and again, you need the right person in charge to be able to make Buffy's lore be presented in a way that basically honors the original series, because we basically saw at the end of Buffy, everything ended perfectly with the complete implosion of Sunnydale into the Hellmouth. I mean, Buffy ended perfectly, and I would hate to see somebody make a new series that would basically tarnish the legacy of the original one. I mean, Buffy means a lot to me, because Buffy was one of those shows, like Quentin Tarantino's dialogue basically was one of the things that helped me to become a better writer, because when I was watching Joss Whedon's Buffy, that the way they would talk on the show basically influenced the way I wrote dialogue, that and Quentin Tarantino and the way he writes dialogue. And some people, they compare John Haynes to Buffy, because one of the two influences as related to my writing is basically Greg Weisman's Gargoyles. That was a major influencer as related to John Haynes. And when it comes to Buffy, it also was a bit of influence, because people, when they read John Haynes, they say, you know, a lot of it really sounds like Buffy, but the whole thing is, I basically have it where, you know, you're focusing on, you know, this guy who's a hero in a corporate hell, and he's basically, again, looking to try to be that example of God. But a lot of that came from me being influenced by both of those things, Quentin Tarantino films and the Buffy show. That was a major influence as related to the style of writing. And as someone who, again, was a guy who was starting to watch Buffy, I started watching Buffy, you know, when it came on in the summertime. I didn't watch it first run in the first year. No, I was sitting there with my cousin. We were chilling in the room, and I started to watch the show. And I liked the way that they would, you know, go tell stories as related to things. I liked the way the characters talked. I liked the way the action went in the show with the Master in the first season. And I liked the second season with Mr. Trick. It was really cool to see Mr. Trick. I wish they had, you know, did a little bit more with Mr. Trick. And as the seasons progressed, we got, you know, Dark Angel and Angelus, and then we got into things. And then when we went to UPN, that's when we started to see the focus on Spike. So I really, again, loved the original Buffy run. I mean, just had some really good seasons, like the Dark Willow season. Loved that season. And I would hate to see, you know, these people who are inexperienced, these Nepo babies and these just incompetent people come in and basically, you know, make a complete mess of Buffy, the way they did with Supergirl, the way they did with Star Wars, and the way they did with Doctor Who, and the way they did with the Terminator, basically making just absolute garbage. And I would rather be able to just say, hey, let's just go back and watch the old Buffy reruns rather than have a new show tarnish the work that Joss Whedon has done to make a classic series that has stood the test of time. And sometimes we don't need a reboot or a relaunch. We just need to let a classic be the classic it actually is. And when it comes to Buffy, I would rather not have a Buffy reboot rather than have a disastrous reboot that basically is a complete mess. I would rather have them go out here and find a competent person go out here and be able to go out here and be the one who does this. Now, they're saying Chloe Zhao would have been the person as related to films she did like Nomadland and Hamnet, but I know that, again, that art house ain't really the Joss Whedon style. No, you need somebody who knows the Buffy lore, knows the Buffy stories, knows how to do the Buffy dialogue, because the Buffy dialogue is unique and one of a kind, and you need to go out here and have the stories done right. And Chloe Zhao definitely would not be the one to do it right. She's an art house director, and that's not her wheelhouse. And that's what the Hulu people probably realize. You know, this is out of this chick's wheelhouse. This is how we get a disaster like Eternals. And rather than finance that disaster, they rather pull the plug on this project and basically save the reputation of one of the greatest franchises of 1990s pop culture. Now, if you want to check out my heroines that basically are very similar to Buffy, you can go out here and check out my heroines in the ISIS series, which is a lot like Buffy in that as related to having a action-packed heroine, or the Esteem series, which is tied directly to John Haynes, or you can pick up the John Haynes series, which many people compare to Buffy, or you can pick up the Black Goth Spinsterella series. All of these books are available on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format, and they're also available at other online booksellers like Draft Digital and Google Play and Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you'd like to see me talk more about the entertainment industry and take deeply dysfunctional reboot ideas to the barbecue, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Isis, Dark Incubus. The goddess next door gets enthralled in a romantic entanglement with an evil incubus in this all-new Isis series adventure. Get your copy of Isis, Dark Incubus in paperback and e-readers today. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Esteem, Horror in the Hamptons. The aspiring angel tries to escape a house of horrors in this action-packed, all-new Esteem series adventure. Get your copy of Esteem, Horror in the Hamptons in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer. Take a trip into the macabre world of goth modeling in the new millennium in this spooktacular Spinsterella story. Pick up your copy of Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.